Jewish Christian has gone viral for proving to an Orthodox Jew that Jesus is the Messiah, and the way he does it is pure gold.
Are you familiar with the messianic prophecies?
Which ones? By whom?
The Orthodox Jew drops all the objections you have to deal with if you want to prove that Jesus isn't just your pagan idol, but is actually your Messiah.
I convulse when I hear Jesus' name.
I can tell. Hold on a
I
second.
can never accept that God came down to earth in the form of a man. The New Testament is just entirely written by man with no divine inspiration.
The Jewish Christian is showing you not only how to respond to people who think you're a traitor.
Jacob, I've seen God face to face and my life has been delivered. Abraham ate with a man who called him Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh.
But he's also giving you the exact scriptures you need to prove that Jesus is the Messiah from the Old Testament.
Well, there was a new covenant promised in Jeremiah. Have you studied Daniel 9?
But first, he's going to show you how to overcome this kind of hostility.
When you hear the name Jesus, what happens? Like, what do you think about?
When I hear the name Jesus, I think about the history of Christianity persecuting us due to our refusal to accept Jesus as the Messiah. Yeah. And I convulse when I hear Jesus' name.
I can tell. I can tell.
He's probably thinking of times like the Spanish Inquisition, where many Jews were told, be Catholic or be exiled. And it's a similar kind of question I get when people say to me as a black man, how can you believe in Jesus, transatlantic slavery? Now, tell me how you'd respond in the comments, but let's see how the Jewish Christian responds.
Do you think that Jesus has anything to do with those persecutions?
No, I don't.
That's really mature of you to say that too. We're actually Jewish believers in Jesus. You know, born Jewish. I could see your blood boiling right now.
He just separates the actions of Christians from the person of Jesus Christ. And that paves the way for the rest of the conversation. But the question still remains, can you prove that Jesus is the promised Messiah in the Torah?
How would you know that faith in Jesus is wrong?
Because the Tanakh says so.
Really?
Yeah.
And what does it say?
The prophecies in Yechezkel, in Daniel, that the Messiah is going to do certain things. He's going to gather Jews in from all four corners of the earth. He's going to make Torah known throughout the earth, or at least throughout the Jewish people, and he's going to build a third temple. And in Jesus' time, the opposite of these things happened.
Right. One of the most famous rabbis, Maimonides, said that if the Messiah was killed or didn't fulfill everything that was prophesied, then he cannot be the Messiah. That's the argument. But what if they've misunderstood something fundamental about the Messiah?
Are you familiar with the messianic prophecies?
Which ones? By whom?
Micah 5, about Messiah coming out of Bethlehem.
It has been a while. It's been a while since I've learned that.
Yeah. Have you studied Daniel 9, the timeline, the 70 weeks of years prophecy?
Yes, I would need to revise it, but I've learned it. Yes.
Okay. Wow. Because it's a bit of an interesting mathematical equation that has the Messiah coming and establishing his messianic mission before 70, before the destruction of the Second Temple.
If you open Daniel chapter 9, verse 26, the text spells it in black and white. If you look at the timeline, the Messiah comes before the temple and the city are destroyed by a foreign enemy. The Romans destroyed the temple in 70 AD and the city. So the Messiah had to come before then, and there are no other candidates. But look at what happens next.
Have you ever read the New Testament before?
No.
Have you ever wondered what's in it?
Not really. No.
Really?
Because the Old Testament, as I suppose you would call it, I call it the Tanakh.
I call it the Tanakh.
Is written with varying levels of divine inspiration. I believe that the New Testament is just entirely written by man with no divine inspiration.
And how come?
Because the era of prophecy stopped earlier on in the Second Temple, and the entire era of Christianity starts only late in the Second Temple. So there is no room for prophecy there.
And what leads you to believe that prophecy ended there?
Because our tradition says so.
Tradition?
Because Rabbi Yehuda Levi says so in the Kuzari.
I see.
The Kuzari was a book written by a 12th century philosopher, and in it he argued that you cannot have prophecy if you don't have the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant was lost after the exile to Babylon, and so the end of prophecy came with it. But that creates a problem because Daniel 9:26 says that the Messiah would be cut off before the destruction of the Second Temple. And so that means if prophecy ended, then Daniel's timeline is a lie. So with them trying to disprove Jesus, they actually end up breaking the Hebrew scriptures. But they'll say that we can't really understand the Torah properly as Christians because we're missing something key. Watch what happens next.
At Sinai, we received not only the Torah Shebichtav, the written Torah,
Yeah.
which was the text, but also the Torah Shebal Peh, which was the Torah that is an oral transmission.
Yeah, I haven't seen any evidence of that in Tanakh. Can you show me?
Let's say there is a commandment in Torah
Yeah.
of how to slaughter an animal.
How to what?
How to slaughter an animal. The Torah says that you shall slaughter the animal in the way that I command you. Nowhere else in the Torah does it actually say how he commands us. Is Hashem expecting us to read his mind? No, because there is a tradition, an oral tradition passed down parallel to the teaching of the written Torah, which teaches us how to do it.
There's nothing in the Tanakh that says...
Not in the written Torah, no, but the oral Torah.
That might sound convincing, but watch how he dismantles his claim.
No,
which
what I'm
is
saying
passed
is there's
down by word
nothing...
of mouth.
Yeah, but you could say that it's not there, that it doesn't explain it, but that doesn't mean that there's a whole oral Torah that's authoritative given to Moses on Mount Sinai. You can just say that it's not there.
The Jewish Christian has given them the biblical evidence. He's handled every single objection that's come his way. But what you're about to see is the most important lesson to learn when defending our faith, because it completely changes how you understand success.
The Jewish people are called by God himself in the Torah an Am Kasher Oreh, which is a stubborn people.
That wasn't a compliment, by the way.
I choose to take it as a compliment.
Yeah, but it wasn't, though. In the
I know.
Tanakh, it's not meant to be a compliment.
Believe me, we read it in the Torah a couple of weeks ago. I know it's not meant as a compliment. However, it is a fact. It has dual aspects. A negative aspect is that we are often too stubborn to listen to each other. However,
Yeah.
a positive aspect of that is that we are stubborn enough to resist outside influence. A Jew who sticks to the tradition will be the ones who have recognizable Jewish descendants.
I think a lot of Jewish people rely on their own righteousness, their own, that they would call themselves tzaddikim if they follow the traditions or the law of Moses, which is really actually this day impossible to follow. That doesn't take into consideration the fact that
there is a lot of, I admit that without a temple, there are a lot of commandments which are impossible to follow. However, that doesn't mean we haven't been doing our best trying to follow what we can.
Maybe even with the temple, the commandments are impossible to completely follow. And maybe that's why you need a Messiah like Jesus.
Well, it could also mean that there was an era that came to an end and a new covenant came in.
No, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, there was a new covenant promised in Jeremiah. God will bring a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, not like the Sinai covenant.
Even though I may not know enough Torah to be able to refute everything that
I
you
don't know
say,
enough, dude. I can't refute everything. There's people that can tear me to shreds with regards to arguments, but it doesn't mean they're right. The only conversion I see is from sinner to forgiven, not from a Jew to a non-Jew. I don't see any conversion there.
I don't believe that a Jew who chooses to believe in Jesus is no longer a Jew. But I do believe that they are no longer a practicing Jew.
Because they've broken commandments?
Not because of broken commandments, but because you're going against some of the most fundamental Jewish beliefs.
Like what?
Belief in one God, for a start. Belief that God is incorporeal.
Well, hold on a
I
second.
can never accept that God came down to earth in the form of a man.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though you seem to know Tanakh pretty well. Jacob, I've seen God face to face and my life has been delivered. Abraham ate with a man who called him Yud Hey Vav Hey.
And you think all of that is meant to be taken literally?
Absolutely.
I don't.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it doesn't fit.
The bottom line is I'm going to remain stubborn.
Yeah.
I don't think that makes me close-minded. I think that makes me faithful.
And that's the hardest thing to accept. You can win the argument, but still lose the person. When pride and your tribal identity come before the truth about Jesus, only God can change that heart. We just want people to know Jesus. And sadly, there are many people who reject him. In fact, there are many people who even deny that Jesus even claimed to be God in the first place. And to see that objection dealt with, check out this video here. I'll see you there. Peace and blessings.